Wow, it looks like we're live.
Hello.
Hi, Gina.
Hi,
Hi,
hi.
hi, hi, everybody on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. This is Inessa Freilichman. I am a Feng Shui consultant and a licensed spiritual psychotherapist. Super excited today to be sharing a dear friend of mine. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we met, and then I'm going to allow her to introduce herself. But Gina, I met Gina in Miami. She at the time was were you the event coordinator or planner at Sacred Space Miami when we
Yeah,
met?
the director of events at Sacred
Director
Space.
of events, yes.
So
And now we just
you were a
froze a
little
bit.
frozen. Yeah. Okay, you're back.
Okay, so yeah, you're the director of events, and I came in because I wanted to teach a workshop there,
Mm-hmm.
and you were so blown away by me. Just kidding.
I was. It's true.
Just kidding. But we had a lot in common right off the bat. We were both Ukrainian Jews.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we just froze again a little bit.
Yes, but I
Let's
can
see
hear
what
you.
you
So,
can hear me. Okay, so let's see. Let's
and
see
you
how.
look pretty up on the frozen frame.
There we go. We're back here. So we'll see if this continues, but hopefully it'll. This is okay. The jumping is not as bad as the freezing. Anyway, so I started. So I taught a workshop there, and then we had a lot in common, and we became friends. You took my feng shui from the heart training. You went through the whole program with me, and you became a certified feng shui from the heart practitioner. And you yourself have had a company for what, over a decade now?
Since 2017, so 7 years.
Almost 7 years. Your company is Moon and Jai, where you create these. Are you there?
I'm here. I
Yeah,
can
you
hear
create these gorgeous, very beautiful, so intentional, these space clearing kits.
you. Mm-hmm.
And we just, okay, let's see, maybe we will jump onto the phone.
Well, I can hear you, and you will come back eventually. It's up to you, but if you want
Yeah,
to,
I think
yeah.
I'm gonna, yeah, I think I'm gonna probably jump onto my phone just to make sure, because on the phone it doesn't pause like this. So
Mm-hmm.
just bear with me, everybody. I will figure all this out eventually. Okay, I'm gonna turn you on right here. I'm gonna turn this off and turn you on right here. So here we
We
go.
can talk a little bit about Feng Shui from the heart while that's happening. So the course, Inessa's course, was really incredible. It was really life changing, and she is such a beautiful teacher, and she teaches with so much humor and grace and like personal stories, and you could just see like the level of her intentionality and the level of her knowledge is incredible, because she is the type of human that really explores in depth, and it was very present in our course. So I took level 1 and I took level 2, and I really utilize it in my work. And when I hold groups now, we start with clearing space and really creating the container through Feng Shui as well. So I've been just sharing about how amazing your course has been. So you can rewatch it on YouTube when we're done. But I was sharing about how amazing of a teacher you are, and how meaningful it has been to take that course, and how I still utilize it in my work a lot.
Wonderful. Yeah. So you have quite, thank you. You have quite the extensive background.
Well,
I mean, looking here, it's like everything, tarot, space clearing, 5 rhythms. You've done a lot, event curating your own events.
yeah.
Also, you did a lot of not just events for other people, but you curated a lot of your events. I remember you used to do a lot of events at the One Hotel that were incredible.
Yeah, they were fun.
They're fun. And then you also did a lot of space clearing. You would go and travel. People would hire you to space clear hotels. And
Yeah.
you did, you know, space clear. So you still run your Moon and Joy business. You still have that business.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm so curious, because you've taken on so many incarnations, as a healer, and now you are a pleasure and an embodiment guide.
Yeah. So I think I just have an insatiable curiosity about all things transformation, and just this insatiable desire to learn every possible discipline that relates to transformation, to personal growth. And I've also curated my environment where I'm surrounded by the most amazing, brilliant teachers and practitioners and healers. And I'm always um, in that flow of knowledge and new healing disciplines and all kinds of things that really speak to the heart. Feng Shui being one of them, tarot being one of them, right? It's almost that we, like when you set an intention before we got on this call,
Yeah.
like we set an intention in tarot, we set an intention in everything that we do. So it's we share that responsibility with the divine, right? Like, so we are being the channel, we are being the deliverer of the message, but really truly it's connecting to the divine with through all the different avenues.
So that was a nat. So, but how did this? Because how did you go through from? I see the through line in all of it, but
Yeah,
how did you end up with,
100.
yeah, becoming a pleasure and embodiment guide? Because that is quite the leap.
Yeah. I don't know if it's quite the leap. I think
No.
that there's all different paths to the
Okay.
same thing. But for me, like my big exploration, my big curiosity always has been partnership, right? It's
Mm,
always like I'm very partnership oriented. I'm very relational oriented person.
mm,
And when I was separating from my ex husband, I was like, okay, I'm going to learn everything there is to learn about how to be an amazing partner and how to show up fully. So I really dove into the Vedas and into different relational disciplines and learning about that. And then we got back together and I was like, okay, now I am a relationship guru and I know how to do it. I'm going to show up in fullness and it's going to be amazing. But no, that's not at all what happened. So this knowledge that I had wasn't an embodied knowledge.
ah. Okay.
Yeah. So it was just like I listened to, hundreds of hours worth of lectures. I took a bunch of workshops. I really understood with my head, with my mind, like what
Mm,
communication is, etc. But it wasn't embodied in the sense that I didn't know what it felt like or what the energetics of it were or how to really navigate it when I'm triggered, where I am not masterful, where I'm, not at my highest, right? So this embodiment piece really came into play again when after another failed relationship, or no, I wouldn't say failed, after another relationship that was complete, and I had a lot of learning from it because we really are always learning from relationships. And in this learning, I was like, okay, like now I really need to go another route. And the other route was really through the body and really through energetics of it and really understanding, polarity is a really big teacher of mine. It's polarity as like based on David Data's teachings. And it's really out there right now. It's gaining a lot of traction, but really understanding what this whole piece about like divine masculine and divine feminine and cultivating my feminine essence, like what does it actually mean in my being, not in my head necessarily. Yeah.
and I know that you went through a lot of different workshops and classes, and I imagine it was in these experiential settings that you
Mhm.
were able to really drop in and get that full body experience,
For
and,
sure.
right, and then translate and then take that into the relationships that you were in.
Yes. And still I'm learning every day.
You are. So, one of the things that struck me, from your website was where you say, I learned that the energy of pleasure holds the vibration of eternal life, and that pleasure has been used for millennia as a purifying and igniting force.
Mm-hmm.
So that really seems to inform a lot of your work, this idea of pleasure and embodiment, right? Because you're a pleasure and embodiment guide. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not, so these two together, right? And so can you speak more about pleasure? Because uh, I'm curious how you see that as this igniting force, and also this force. Well, I can see how it's an igniting force for creativity, but how is it this igniting force for healing?
Beautiful question. So, a lot of times when we talk about pleasure, right away people think sexuality,
That's what
and it is absolutely, absolutely part of it. But pleasure is all encompassing. It's so much more than that, right? So, it was just right before our call, I was downstairs in the hotel lobby and I saw this little strawberry ice cream.
Uh-huh.
And I eat very healthy. One of my many educations is as a health coach, and so, you know, dairy, Haagen-Dazs, strawberry ice cream is not something that I usually indulge in. And in this moment, I was like, oh, I desire it, like really like this embodied desire that's present. And I'm not gonna gulf it down. I'm gonna really like savor it and enjoy every bite and like bring in these like childhood memories of eating strawberry ice cream and really nourish myself with the experience, right? So for me, pleasure is a lot of it is really about slowing down and
Mm.
softening.
Slowing down and softening.
Slowing down and softening, right? Like really um, nourishing your being, your essence with whatever you are receiving, whether it is sensuality, sexuality, or swimming in the ocean or eating a ripe peach, right? Like whatever that sensual delight is, because we are always running, right? Like we're in a very fast paced
Mm-hmm.
life and environment. So I feel like for us to really take in pleasure, it requires slowing down. It really requires that, like, oh, okay, I'm really going to receive from life,
Mm.
right? And that is like fast food versus slow food, right? Like eating a burger, driving through a drive-through, and like really just not you're not receiving the nourishment from it.
Mm.
You're not receiving the nutrients from this food. You're receiving nutrients from food when you're sitting down with your friends and it's slow and it's something that's been cooked and presented to you in a beautiful way, so the environment plays a role in it, etc. So all of it is like an all-encompassing piece. And when we start just noticing, so when I work with my clients and they're like, well, how do I start, where do I start, how do I do it? So the answer is like we start by noticing, right? Like it's the same with Feng Shui. Like where do I start? Okay, well, notice, like just look around your bedroom, look around your house. Like, is there anything that really looks completely out of whack? Like, is there something that just doesn't belong, that doesn't make sense, that doesn't bring you joy or pleasure? Right?
Mm.
Same thing, like notice your life. What brings you actual pleasure? What brings you joy and satisfaction? And
Mm.
what's nourishing for you? What's nurturing for you?
Mm. So
Um, yeah.
when you were talking about being a health coach and then the ice cream and then the
When I went on a tangent, in other words.
no, 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 no. Actually, what came forward to me was like, well, I guess, if yeah, because I'm thinking about myself when I do have my ice cream. There's like it's usually motivated by stress, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
there's a sense of numbness that comes from my ice cream eating. Well,
Mhm.
I don't eat it often, but I like this kind of, okay, well, dropping into the deeper urge that's underneath, the stress, which is the urge for connection, and it's connection to myself. And so using the object, which in this case would be the ice cream,
Mhm.
to deepen more into my own body, into my own presence, and into my experience, which is really what's underneath. What the stress is just like a layer on top of that desire. So I really like that. So when you're working with people, I mean, I imagine that's the first step, is softness. What was the second one? Softness and
Softening and slowing down.
slowing. Wow.
Such a
I
luxury.
I could use that slowing down like all
Yeah.
but
Especially as a new mom, you could use a
it's
lot of that.
yeah, so look, I'm just so let me ask you because you know, I think a lot of people are wound up for
Yeah.
many different reasons.
Mhm.
And you're dealing with an entire nervous system. You know,
Mhm.
got
Mhm.
people coming in to see you. First of all, how do you see people? How do you work with people? What does that look like?
Mostly on Zoom. Mostly on Zoom, and I work with private clients, and I also hold groups of women. We have a program that's called Infinitely Magnetic that I run about 4 times a year. Yeah.
What's that?
So um, it's a beautiful program. It's super fun, and it's 10 modules, and they build on each other. So we really explore our inner landscape in this program.
Okay.
We really find that connection with our pleasure and with our desire and with who we are.
And I'm assuming the magnetic part is then you become attractive to, you know,
Yeah, you magnetize what you desire towards you by
beautiful.
noticing. And so I think that we skipped the part where we were
How
talking
do
about where do
yeah.
you start, and you start by noticing.
Mm,
You start by noticing. And when you're saying about slowing down, when people come to me, there's this practice that I gave a client recently that is it really changed her life, and it's the simplest practice, but you have to really notice and commit to it. So when she's rushing in the morning and getting her kids to school and her husband to work and all of the different things, and she's like, and I just feel myself like starting to fume, and like this anger and resentment and discomfort, and your nervous system is really dysregulated in this moment when you have a very finite amount of time to do an infinite amount of things, right? So I said, okay, like, so we're going to do the most counterintuitive thing possible in this moment, which is for 90 seconds, you're going to slow down every single motion. Like when you're just going like this, you're going to slow it down to like slow mo pace. So if you're reaching for a glass, you're going to reach like this. So you're going to really completely not, I don't want to say completely rewire your nervous system, but in this moment, do the complete like counterintuitive piece instead of like, okay, like let me make this as fast as possible. You're going to slow down to like a joking, like almost like ironic
right.
space where it's like, I don't have 90 seconds to spare. You do. You have 90 seconds to spare because your nervous system deserves attention and deserves regulation, right? So she's like, oh my God, that 90-second slowdown, like it really like went from me escalating into fumes to de-escalating and understanding, really grounding in that you have a choice. Even when you're late, you still have a choice to choose yourself for a second and to say, time out, like time out for mommy, time out for myself. 90 seconds. Yes, you deserve 90 seconds out of your 24-hour day to
Well,
bring yourself into balance.
yeah, and you know they say it takes 90 seconds from the
Oh,
have a thought to the moment it becomes a full blown physiological response in the body.
response. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what
makes
they
sense.
to say. So really, that 90 seconds can change everything if you
Yeah.
give it. Well, and you have a very calming presence about you. So I would imagine that when people are working with you know, through the mirroring neurons, they're dropping in just by being in the space with you, whether it's in person or on the video.
Mhm.
'Cause I can feel it in my own body just being with you. It's having a quite the calming impact on my body. So I wanted to ask you. So you mentioned the disconnection. Okay, many of us have from our bodies and spirits and desires, right?
Yeah.
Kind of what we're talking a little bit about reconnecting. So where does this stem from, and where does this disconnection stem from?
Yeah, I think that a lot of it comes from a variety of messages that we've received throughout our life that are very conflicting messages, right? From our parents, from our teachers, from society, from friends, from siblings, etc., right? And I think that we've all had experiences where we were, judged or ridiculed, or, you're too much, you're not enough, all of the stories that we receive throughout our lifetime. And so there are these parts of us, like soul fragments, right, that someone made fun of when you were 2 years old or 3 or 5 years old, whatever it is, that you don't even remember the actual incident or the actual moment that happened. But there's a part of you that is not really there anymore, but it's an essential part of you. It's an essential part of who you are. So when we do this work, when we gather either in groups or I work with my clients one-on-one, what we do is we like go in and not that we find these parts, but we find all the different parts of us that have been neglected, or parts that we're like, oh, I don't want to look at this, or I don't like this, or this is not good enough, or someone made fun of it at some point. And we start rebuilding, and we start really getting to know how actually amazing and brilliant and wonderful we are, right? It's like falling in love. Like when we fall in love newly and you see this person and you project all of the most amazing things onto them, and that they're like brilliant and talented and full of potential, you do that for yourself, right? You get to do that for yourself. And the way that you get to do it, and you mentioned it, and thank you for acknowledging me in this way, is that a lot of people go through life, they don't have a healthy reflection. That mirroring, like a lot of people, it's incredible the amount of people that don't really have a healthy reflection, that they have a lot of people in their life that are critical, that are not supportive, that are controlling, whatever, right? So when you start with tools and healthy reflection, coming back into your being and being like, oh, I'm actually quite wonderful, I'm actually really worthy, then from that space, you can really connect with your vision. You could really connect with your zone of genius. You could really start, it's rebuilding yourself in a way. And this one piece I will share also is I work with a lot of women who are in the middle of their life, or like their children have left, or whatever is, they walked this path that they checked all the boxes, they did all the right things, they got married, they had the children, they had the career, whatever it is. And now they are, for the first time, realizing that they don't quite know who they are or what they want. It's incredible how many times I ask someone, like, so what do you want? And the answer is like, I don't know. So my question then is like, well, how are you going to get it?
Yeah.
How are you going to get the life that you desire if you don't know what it is? Right? So sometimes we start there, like, well, what do you want? What do you desire? What brings you pleasure? Who are you?
Right. And so when we're asking that question, so that's you're asking them to tie this into where they experience pleasure, and that's an indication of where that energy is for them.
Yeah.
So where,
That's a big part of it, because I feel like our desires and like what brings us pleasure is what expands our container, right? Like, so we're more able to receive what we actually desire.
how do you, yeah, well, that's a good one here. So the ability to receive. What, like, how do you help people grow those containers? Because you can identify what you want, you desire, but because of those early childhood programs, your container might not, there might be some blocks preventing you from receiving. So how do you work with people to expand those containers? Are there exercises that you do? Are there processes that you involve them in? Like, do you have like a technique, or what do you, is it just intuitive and in the moment?
Yeah. So yes, there's definitely techniques. Thank you for asking. That's a beautiful question. And that really is such an important piece. So like you said, it's twofold, right? First is like the programming that we have, that we are, for whatever reason, right, that we're not good enough to receive all of the things. What Gay Hendricks, that the Big Leap, that book, The Upper Limit Problem?
Yes, totally.
Yeah. So just for people that are not familiar with it, is the premise of the book is that we all have an upper limit problem, and that is that we don't believe that we deserve to be like happy, healthy, and in love. So most people say like, okay, well, I have an amazing career. It's not that important that I have a great relationship, or I
Mm,
have a beautiful marriage. Like my purpose, or like, I don't need to have friendships. Or so we
mm,
kind of make these very unconscious compromises that no one asks us to make, that we just somehow decided that we can't have it all, which, spoiler alert, we can have it all. And we go through life just really meeting that upper limit, that whenever we hit that moment where like all of the things are really working out, we find a way to sabotage it, right?
mm, mhm,
So this receiving piece, it really is noticing these pieces. It's noticing like, okay, oh wow, this is my story about receiving. This is why I'm not good enough. He has five reasons why we sabotage and why we don't receive the things that we
mm.
desire. But I think there's 100 different reasons, right? What our stories are. So we look at those and we kind of pay attention to them, and we don't give them a lot of power, and we don't say every time that we don't receive something, well, it's because of my childhood programming. Oh, it's because of the story, right? Like we notice and we say, oh, how interesting, right? We get very curious about it.
Yeah.
And then the techniques, like one of the like really basic techniques, not to get super, super into it, is the same way as I was talking about receiving nourishment from ice cream. Like every time that you receive something,
Mm,
anything, a compliment, or when I work with people in New York, I say I see it on the subway, right? That doesn't relate to us so much. So someone like letting you go cut in front of them in the lane, right? People that drive cars. So someone that like the smallest thing, you pause and you notice and you take a breath with that, and you allow yourself to be nourished by it.
mm. That
And you
reminds
say, oh, I
Yeah.
feel so good in my body. Like, right. So we do a lot of like putting our hands on our body and like,
Okay.
oof, yeah, like I feel that. I feel when you gave me a compliment, I really received
Uh,
it.
I
I
love that.
didn't deflect. I didn't like not allow it to penetrate me in any way. So we really allow it to penetrate us.
Mm.
And little by little, it's a process. That container expands because, we notice all of these things that are coming in that are tiny or big, and then we get to use them to expand that container.
I love that. It reminds me of when I was really seeking to increase my abundance, my
Mm,
and I decided I think I did this for several months, to write down
hmm.
every time money would come in, even
Yeah,
discount at the store, wherever,
for sure.
just become aware of it, and then I would say thank you,
Hmm.
and lo and behold, the following month I had a huge increase in my finances. But now I'm thinking, the next step of that would be not just to like become aware of it coming in and make a note of it, but then to also like, oh, like feel the tingles in my back, and the feeling of safety and security that creates, and then
Yeah,
the excitement of like, oh, now I can buy this for my friend, or I can, you know now I can buy this for myself. Or so there's just layers of allowing oneself to experience whatever is coming in, whatever already is coming into their life. So if someone they don't feel like they're getting the thing that they want, to start with maybe just feeling into what's coming in easily for you, what's already there, and feeling those the pleasure from what's here. Because I know that, in the past, and even sometimes now, because I'm on such a fast speed with having the baby and the clients and all of what I'm doing, that so much good is coming in, but I don't always notice it.
yeah.
And then I start focusing on what's not here and what's not working. Um, but just taking that time to see what is here and to enjoy it, because it wasn't here 5 years ago. you know?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's a big thing, is like how many of the things that we have right now were the things that we were really wishing for 5 years ago,
Right. That's
right?
right.
The like in your own life, you could notice all of these things, like you've from 5 years ago to where you are now, like these really big life things that you've desired. You've
Yeah.
manifested all of them, or a lot of them, in a really big, magnificent way.
Uh-huh.
And we don't take the time a lot of times to acknowledge it and to appreciate it.
No.
because now they become our reality, and it's like, okay, yeah, like this is my
Yeah,
baby.
get used to it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, those like another skin. It's just our skin. It's like it's always here, but
Mhm.
we
Right. Or our breath,
or a breath.
right? Like when we don't take time to like, whew, okay, like what a gift.
I can just see you. I've never done a session with you, but I feel like now I want to like join your whole all your programs. But I feel like if you probably do a lot of that, you probably stop people a lot in your sessions.
Hmm.
Breathe. Don't I feel you probably do that, don't you? Like to stop them
Mm-hmm.
from going on and just like, okay,
Yes. Yeah.
nobody just
I guess you do that a lot with your clients as well.
so sometimes, yes. But now that we're talking, I feel like I should do it a lot more. Not that
Mhm.
you. So
You don't even have to stop someone. I think that you can just take a breath. And a breath is like an amazing, it's a very contagious thing.
mm,
So it allows the other person to
yeah.
just naturally do it on their own. So
I
that's
figured that for me on video, like than in person. Like I think there's such benefits to having video as an option to work with people this way.
totally,
Creates
totally. And I have a lot of my clients that are actually in Miami, and I still do, I meet with them on Zoom. I
over
think there's something like almost like as we were talking about it, like something shifted in our mind where this feels somehow more natural for this work than
mm-hmm.
in person. I don't know why.
I don't know, but you're right. I think people also like to be in their environment.
Yeah,
They enjoy the safety and the comfort of their space,
true.
and there's also convenience. You don't have to go find parking, and you know, it might take twice as long to get to a place and then come back. So there's a lot of benefits to this. So, excuse me. So I'm thinking, in your work, there's probably lots of stages of involvement people can have with you.
Hmm.
Like we're talking about kind of beginner level here.
Sure. I mean, yeah,
Right? Because I mean, all of us can benefit from these, the softening and see, I'm forgetting the second one. What was the second one?
slowing down.
Of course, I would forget
The
that.
thing you needed the most. We forgot about it already.
But I need it. I can't go fast. Okay.
There you go. The energy and action of
And
us forgetting. Wait, I forgot what I need to do. I need to slow down.
slow down. Let's slow
I have
down.
to say, I have to share this joke because it's so good. My friend was in Whole Foods and she was in the vitamin section, and the person came up to her and said, um, what can I help you? Like, do you know what you're looking for? She's like, I actually forgot what I came here for. And then like a few minutes later, she was looking, she ran up to him and she's like, I remembered. It was vitamins from memory.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
So it's like I'm too fast to remember to slow down.
Yeah. No, slow and soft. Slow and soft. I
Yeah.
hope everyone takes that. Those are like two
Mhm.
beautiful things people can take
Yeah.
away right now and just move into. But what I was going to say is, I imagine people can work with you at different levels of engagement. So, for example, because you are a pleasure and embodiment guide. So I imagine that there's a level of engagement. Or do you work with couples ever?
I do, yeah. I started recently working with couples and I really, really love it.
Do you?
Yeah, well, because truly, like my personal desire for transformation, it really came from that container, from the container of partnership. So, and I think that it's such an incredible, like it's ongoing, right? Like you can be with someone for 30 years and still like start like unravel new material to work with, right? So and it's really beautiful to see how just these tiny shifts, like you said, just take a breath,
Hmm.
take that, like if you could soften 2%, right? Like so just 2%, something really slow, like something really small,
Hmm.
it makes a difference. It makes such a difference. So when we start incorporating like more conscious communication, more awareness of these foundational things of polarity, more awareness of like, okay, like what does it mean for me to be in my feminine? Like, how do I, like, oh, I just want to be feminine and surrender. Okay, beautiful. Like, what does that look like? What does that feel like? When is appropriate to do that? And when is it appropriate for you to actually have your masculine energy and your masculine core be present, right? So bringing awareness and seeing those shifts is just so freaking rewarding, because it's I don't know, there's a level of healing that happens for myself in every one of these sessions, where I continued to heal the relationship with my ex-husband that I wasn't able to quote unquote save, that I wanted to do back then. But if I'm able to take that and gift it to someone and
Mm.
see them heal it, that's, yeah,
I hear you.
really powerful for me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. That's so powerful. You know, one of the things, I don't know, have you ever read, speaking of, we were talking just now about about Hendrix. Did you ever read his book, his first book, Conscious Loving?
No.
So it's
Conscious loving. No.
a really good book. So in that book, that's where he first introduces the concept of upper limits
Mm.
before he wrote the whole book on it. And he says that, you know, same thing as you said, basically, we all have a set limit of how much good and how much pleasure we can experience
Mhm.
based on our upbringing and
Yeah.
what we felt in our family of origins, and then what we felt, you know, in our teens, and you know how much good we could let in. And so in a relationship, when we, you know, if we're here like at a 7 out of 10 and we're with someone that's at a 9 out of
Yeah.
10, and then we hit our 7, then we like freak out and go into sabotage mode. And that the way to, he says, the way in a couple to increase your own personal upper limit is by taking breaks, by
Mhm.
actually going off into your own respective spaces,
Mhm.
your energy, and then coming back together. Because if it's so much good, if there's so much good that the you know that union is creating, and it like exceeds a person's upper limit, they'll go into picking a fight, you
Yeah.
know, or avoidance or whatever it is. So I really, that really stuck with me.
Yeah. Well, and it makes perfect sense. I see it all the time. I see that reality all the time, where someone is like, am I worthy of this? Do I deserve this? Is it
Yeah,
true? Can I trust it? What if I trust it and then it all falls apart? You know, there's so many different layers of fear and discomfort that we could have around it. And
yeah.
a lot of it is physiological. That's why we do all of this somatic work, so we can really like allow the body
Mm,
to
to receive.
use and to
Yeah,
receive and to be, you know, able to
yeah.
guide us in a way.
Ma- so Marcy is saying, I'm really enjoying listening to you, two wise women. Hi, Marcy. Thank you.
Oh, where is that? I guess you see it on
I
Facebook as well?
see it on my end. It's on
That's
Facebook.
sweet. Is this Marcy, our
J-
Marcy?
Yeah, our Marcy.
Oh,
Our
hi,
Marcy.
Marcy.
Um, I'm really getting the essence of your work, you know, that actually you do. I can see how at first the nervous system regulation is so important,
Mhm,
because like for me, that what I just said was a concept, you know,
mhm,
and it's very hard to internalize that concept when I'm postpartum, when I'm estrogen dominant, supposedly, when my nervous system is like this. It's hard for me to really feel into that. Like, oh, this is a moment where I need to take a healthy space for my partner so I can get back into my,
mhm,
you know, forget. And I see how the softening and the slowing down is the very thing you need in order to surrender.
mhm.
So I love that. I love that that's what you teach and that's what you embody in your work. And I mean, I'm sure everyone that's listening and that will listen to this call can and will feel this coming from you, because you are just the frequency that you're emitting is so soothing.
Thank you. Yeah, I do this all the time. It's not maybe for prolonged time periods, but I will go to my partner and I'll say like, I feel very activated right now, and I'm gonna go for a walk, and I'm gonna take 10 or 20 or 30 minutes, however long it takes for me to feel less activated, and then I'll come back and then we'll take it from there. And
What?
again, it's like a breath. We By saying that and by doing that, I've modeled this for him. So
Mm,
there's also this piece of us. If let's say if I'm working with a couple, wonderful, and they are able to, both partners bring something in. But I see that when I work with women, that they bring these pieces into their relationship and they model these behaviors, and they model, like, because a lot of times we haven't really seen a very healthy modeling of what a conscious partnership in 2024 looks like, the one that we desire, the one that we couples goals see on Instagram, and all of these like really big examples that we see around us nowadays. We haven't seen that model. Like, what does that look like, conscious partnership?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we
Can you-
get to model it enough times, and then you get to receive it from your partner as well, hopefully, right? If they're willing.
Well, and I have two questions. So that was one of them. I wanted to ask that one 3 minutes ago, and I'm happy. I see I slowed down enough to allow it to not unfold naturally. Which is, are there times when, one is modeling and one is slowing down and one is softening, and, they're in a relationship with someone that's just not open to influence.
Yeah, of
And
course.
then in case, if you still want to stay in that relationship, not, like, does that just become your own personal solo journey with softening and slowing down, and you're just let go of that expectation or that hope of them ever slowing down and softening, or you go get that need met somewhere else? Like, what have you, well,
Yeah.
how do you guide people
So
or
I
advise?
think it's a multi-layered question, and I don't think that the answer is ever that simple. And when I see people saying like, if you know that this is wrong, just leave, or like the second that you know that this is wrong, it's your responsibility to leave. I really don't subscribe to it.
Mhm.
I think that we as humans have seasons and relationships have seasons. And for me, it's more concerning when your relationship is like flat all the time, that there is no conflict, right? So when there's conflict, and someone is not open, like you said, or someone is not willing to meet you there, how much personal work can you continue doing, and how can you continue showing up in the best way possible within that? And I think that once like one morning you'll wake up and say, you know what, I've shown up, I've left no stone unturned, I've
Mhm.
really done my work, and I see that this person is consistently not willing to give me an inch or to show up in any real way, then you can, make that decision from there. But I don't really believe that there are people that are so completely closed and so completely not open to any influence, that are so unwilling
Mm.
to take a quarter of a step. Like, you can take 10 steps, and if someone takes a quarter of a step, that's progress, right? So just noticing that and keep walking towards them in a way, in a completely open heart. And it's not an easy thing. It's much easier said than done, and it's a really big, challenging undertaking, right?
For
To be able to show up fully for someone who is like not showing up for you.
Right. I mean, I see that a lot in my practice, and this particular flavor of dilemma.
Yeah.
So can you share a transformative moment or a story where this kind of deep self-love, the slowing down, softening led to significant change for someone that you've worked with?
Yeah. Well, that the one that I shared, where my client was really like softened
Yeah.
and got, took the 90-minute, um,
Huh?
90-minute, 90-second
Like,
piece for herself, where she was like, wow,
what
this
about
is really transforming my life.
with
Sorry?
do you have any examples where this happened with a couple yet?
Um,
Even from your own, when you kind of did share in your own life how you took your time out, and maybe even from your own life where
yeah. Yeah,
something.
absolutely. So for me, like with my partner, we run into one specific like flavor of interesting
Uh-huh.
conflict, where I say that, do you know the joke, like, what do women want?
I have
What
a book.
women want?
I have the book, and
No. Do you know the joke? Like, what do
no,
women want?
what do they want?
More.
I like that.
More. Just always more, right? And for me, it's really true, because I really want more all the time. I want to expand. I want to learn. I want to go to this retreat. I want to go to this workshop.
Yeah.
I want this pretty dress. I want to travel there. And my friends are going there. So it's like my life is just so rich with all of the different beautiful, shiny things that I desire all the time. And a lot of these desires are based around transformation. So like the more that I want is, more like go to a dance retreat so I could really like drop in deeper into myself, or go learn in a workshop so I could really drop in deeper into myself. And so this piece of like me wanting more and expressing the desire for more, and my partner, he's shifting so much in this regard, but him being like, well, why is what you have not good enough?
Okay.
Why is what you have not enough? Right? I'm like, no, what I have is good enough. What I have is enough. It's incredible, abundant. And I'm like so joyful and ecstatic to have what I have, and to receive what I receive from you all the time. And I want more. So
Right.
even that, right? Like that, like
Yeah.
managing that reality where, okay, like we just did all the things and now you want more things, right? Like
Well,
having compassion for him
yeah.
to understand that where he's coming from, where he feels that it's, oh, well, what you have is not good enough. And me having the
Or will I?
patience, space holding capacity.
Yeah. Or will I ever be able to please you? Will I ever be able to be enough for you? You know.
Exactly. And really unraveling that me wanting
Mm,
more is not at all a reflection of any lack or any not good enoughness, that it's actually me tapping into further,
mm,
bigger abundance all the time, but abundance of connection, abundance of joy and pleasure and experiences and expansion. So being able to sit with whatever it is, right? People have all kinds of things that they struggle with. And the remedy for whatever it is always, for me, like it's a breath and a pause. It's
okay.
like,
Right. You're right. Because I mean, the situation that you just presented could go
yeah,
two ways. You could
yeah,
either, because you're kind of spiraling and expanding, and he's like contracting in this dynamic because he does, not that he's not expanding, but that because he gets nervous that you're wanting more could be possibly a
yeah.
reflection.
That could be a threat, that it could be a
Right.
threat to our
Either you could go
connection
back,
or whatever it is.
right. So you could either go into contraction with like, okay,
Mhm.
well, I'm just gonna not keep doing what's so natural for me, which is growing my container, or you
Right.
could do what you're saying, which is you're dropping in and being with wherever he's at in the moment.
Yeah. Or we could really sit with both, like, so they're both realities, they're both truths, and they're not conflicting necessarily, but they're very, very different. But they're both real and they're both
Right.
valid, right? So I I'd say, yeah, like I get it. I hear you. Like that could be very challenging to be with someone who's constantly, wanting to expand in every way. Yeah, like that's a lot for you to hold, and that's a lot for you to process, that it's not any not good enoughness and any lack or any me missing anything that I don't have. Right? So just like rewiring with that, again, the softness and
Right.
the slowness, because then I get to sit with them and say, like, yeah, I really hear you. Like, I
Does
really do. I really hear him. I really
I-
understand that it's a lot, right?
does validating his reality soften him?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's such a huge key, what you're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
we don't have to agree with each other, but we can validate each other's reality. Like, I can see how you would feel that way sitting in your reality. I could totally get that. That in itself probably, softens him, and then he can hear you and receive.
Yeah.
Both.
So it was interesting how you phrased it, that I could totally see how you would feel that sitting in your reality. Which for me,
But
like, is also, it's a little like, I think like the simpler the better.
what's another way of saying that?
I hear you. I get it. I really get it.
Right. I don't. Right. Right.
right? Because then you're again, like you're creating a little bit of that
No,
separation. Like
and
this is your reality. It's not actual reality.
no, but I think I would do that more in my mind, because sometimes there's a resistance.
Uh, yeah.
There's,
Yeah.
there's a there's a resistance to giving a person that confirmation, because you're not in agreement with it.
Yeah.
But just know that you don't have to be in agreement, but you can understand that that's their reality and where
Yeah.
they're coming from.
For
And
sure.
maybe I wouldn't say it that way, like, well, that's your reality, because that is
Yeah.
a bit it would just be it would be like, I hear you,
I
I hear
hear
what you're
you. I get it. I
yeah,
hear you. And
yeah,
I do. And I really do hear him and I really do get it.
yeah,
And he is getting to a place where he really hears me and he really gets it
yeah.
too. Because I say, like, well, the alternative is that I don't express. The
Mm,
alternative is that I don't express my desire. The alternative is that I don't express what I want. And then what happens with that?
right. What
It
happens?
festers, right? It becomes
Right.
resentment. It becomes like this unconscious material that comes out in some other very unhealthy way. And when I do express, I make sure that it's light and playful.
Another key. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that it's not that I'm not like a burden on him, like, look, I really want this. And it's like, like more, right? That it's very much from that feminine space of that like playful, joyful, like, oh my God, it would be so fun if this and this and this, or I would like super enjoy it if we went there or experience this. Um, and so I think that the lighter and the more playful and the more well placed in the sense of like, yeah, like don't maybe ask your partner if now is a good time for you to express something that's present for you. And maybe if they just had a 14-hour workday where they had to, put out multiple fires, maybe that's not the best time to do it.
Yeah.
So just noticing, like we really, the foundational piece is noticing
Yeah.
and discerning and understanding is now a time where what I will share will land with this person, or is now a time where it won't at all and it will create the opposite effect, right? So you just become more masterful at time, space, energy management.
Attunement. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things we complain a lot about as women, is that we need more attunement. And,
Mhm.
we have to be equally as attuned to our partners, even if that means that there might, most of the time, it might not be the time. But there's going to,
I've noticed that about men, that it's very rarely the right time.
it's very, oh, that'll
That
be your
is,
chapters.
it's very, so you have to really find like, full moon and new moon. No, I'm just joking, but you really have to be masterful at finding that time, because what is the result that you desire to receive? And how much is the result that you desire to receive affected by what placement you make of your request?
Yeah, there's a lot of work. I think I'll stick with softening and slowing down for now.
Yeah.
All I can do.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much. This was so great. I feel I just got a healing session just by sitting with you, and.
Thank you, my love. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you in my life. You are amazing and the source of all that's good and righteous and space clearing.
Amen. You too, girl.
Amen. Can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Oh well, yeah. So my book is Feng Shui, a Feng Shui guide for young adults. Change your room, change your life.
But
And
it's not just for young adults. I feel like I read it and I enjoyed it.
yeah, anybody can read it and benefit from it. But it really was. I wrote it for young adults because I was answering a call. It was my inner teens call, because this was the book that she wanted to have when she was coming of age, that she would have benefited from. So for me, it was like, well, what would have been that material that would have set me up for more, with more tools, uh,
Mhm, mhm.
because I didn't have any tools back in that time. And it's a combination of Feng Shui, psychology. In the very back of the book, I have case studies where I show how some of the space clearing and the Feng Shui, how it actually transforms a person's room from before and after. And the book, it encourages people to look at their space as multidimensional,
Mm.
interacting with the living organism. And so when they make a change to their space, it actually makes a change on the inside.
Yeah.
And when they understand, through experiencing the feng shui, they will understand that. So it's not something, you like you talk a lot about concept versus embodiment. The things where it's a concept until you've actually done it. So once you've made the change to the room and you've seen the shift in your life on the inside, then you know that you've got feng shui.
Yeah. Feng Shui. I love it. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing with us.
Find you.
GinaMoon.co or on Instagram, Gina Moon. On all the platforms, it's Gina Moon.
And there they'll find all the embodiment work. Then you also
They can either schedule a call with me, or there's like ways to get in touch with me to
beautiful.
Continue and to see if we're a good fit to work together.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you so much for having me. This was super fun. I love this conversation.
Thank you, honey. I'll talk to you soon.
Have a beautiful day.
Thank you. Bye.